see, like on Route 8, I still saw a school on Route 8 not operating properly. We still have a few traffic guards out as well. So just the students, they drive well below the speed limit for the safety of other motorists and the traffic guards too. Shout outs to all of them because they're doing such an exceptional job. Route 16 isn't a too bad yet. We know that that area right around Monterey starts to pile up as we get closer to the 5 o'clock hour. But again, helping you move forward at 4:08 in the afternoon, that's Guam Auto Parts, home of 478 Auto. View their inventory on our website at GuamAutoParts.com.
My name is Erica. My friend Jason, invitation for his children. My oldest called me and said Jason got hurt. Well, trauma doctor came in and said he needs to go to surgery. His injury was a big injury, and I think a testament to the care that we provide. He's fully functional. He's riding his dirt bike, doing all of the things that you would want him to do. We're just so thankful that Jason is still here. Go online right now to leftsiders.org.
Kids, summer isn't just time off. It's time to build confidence and curiosity. And when school meals pop, millions of kids need access to the food they count on during the school year. As a neighbor-led network, Feeding America is deeply rooted in every community, ensuring summer meals continue nourishing growth and potential. Your support puts healthy food within reach, fueling the future for kids and their families. Give back at feedingamerica.org/summer hunger.
The road to Iowa continues. This time, we sit down with Republican candidates. Guest speaker Tom Adams and E.J. Calvert has the full conversation that took place on May 5th on the Wave 105 YouTube channel. Stay informed and hear the vision for Guam's future. Wave 105 is a glimpse of Guam radio station.
In the afternoon, but in the BrightSide, right here in Legend of Positive. Study the woman standing by once again, the host of the show, this is our Suba. We do want to thank our sponsors, UCA Restart With You, Philly Growing Bar at Philly's for Life Day Food and Memories happen here. Micro Pack for sound, tech, and everything in between. Think Micro Pack. Subway, you gotta refresh the beef desk. And Triple J Ford. Get that free $500 gas card when you drive home with a new Ford truck. Visit triplejguam.com and get pre-approved instantly. And so right now we're continuing beyond the ballot. And so we have Mr. Anthony Pauly running for the 39th legislature. I've spoken to him a number of times, and he also is very seasoned in talk radio. Obviously, you're your own host of your own show, right?
I'm one of the folks there, yeah.
No, vets with benefits.
Veterans with benefits, yeah.
And so, again, you're a huge advocate. Obviously, you're like the co-founder, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Of HMI.
That's correct.
A nonprofit organization that assists U.S. military veterans.
For sure.
And if you can just share a little bit with our audience about more of your background.
So, I'm born and raised down in Molesto. I went to Molesto Elementary School, and then after that I made it up to St. Francis. And then from there, from St. Francis, I went to...
Were you in the choir?
Oh, no, I didn't get to...
The famous St. Francis choir?
No, I didn't get to do that. I don't think it was around when we were doing it. I think they were just formulating. But we did have some folks there. I think it was Mrs. Cook that was there at the time, and she did a lot of the singing. And Sister Maria Juan, I just ran into her. She's over at she's one of the folks over at DOE now with Montat, Frank Guerrero, or Frank Leon. Is it Leon Guerrero?
Yes.
Leon Guerrero, yeah. And then two others to include Sister Maria one. Back in the day, she was over there, and she used to play guitar and help us learn how to sing and everything.
Okay. Yeah.
So then after I went there, I proceeded over to Father Duenas, got out of FD, went into the military. I was in the Army for 5 years, got out and came back, became a police officer. From there, I was able to get into the Air Guard, and along that road, there's so many other things we were doing. So, did some business, family business, did some work around, like insurance companies, attorneys, just different folks that needed services. So that's what we were doing at the time. So aside from that, in the last 6 years, we've been doing the veterans. Right. So we got together, myself, Matt Sharfus, Bill Salisbury, as well as Brian Hahn, and we put together veterans. Oh no, I'm sorry. HMI, Itinano Imagahes and Nina. And when we did that, that was the start of trying to get our veterans together, bring them together, help them with a lot of the things that they need with services on the medical side and their benefits, to get their disability, and just really putting a lot of focus on our veterans and trying to help them understand and learn what's available out there and help their overall quality of life, pretty much, is what it was.
Sure. I think you've done an exceptional job as a nonprofit organization, but then also just as an individual, assisting veterans and their quality of life. And so how does that move forward? I mean, you're running for office, and how do you plan on strengthening that?
Well, when you talk about the nonprofit, right, before it starts to sound like I do all the work over there, right, the higher up you go the chain, the less in charge you are of anything, right? So you got all the hardworking folks at the bottom. A lot of that is mostly volunteers, believe it or not. And, this is where, bringing the focus and getting the veterans there, right, we get good help from a lot of our, like our businesses out there. But we still have not received a lot of federal funding coming in, that's direct to our folks here. But the feds have a different kind of operation, right? They kind of run the CBOC, and then they run the Keegan office up there, right? As well as the vet center, right? These are more things, and then now our new annex, right? So these are areas that the federal government takes care of.
Right.
Now, locally, we just have our Dover office that recently moved up to the Chancery. So we don't have to just depend on, the federal funds. Stateside jurisdictions, they got a lot of the corporate sponsors dumping money into, veteran services. I mean, you see them all the time at night when you see the commercials, like Tunnels to Towers. These guys get, homes, right? Brand new homes, they get cars. There's a lot of things that are being done for them thanks to a lot of the corporate funding that they get from, the donations from these folks. And then they raise more money. Obviously, the United States is much larger as far as the population is concerned. When you look at folks out there, there are more people that, for example, get into their old age, and they have a lot of money that, they don't know where to put it. And wouldn't it be nice if we could get that money here? And one of the conversations about that is, if we don't have as many folks here on Guam on the corporate side doing all this, right, how do we get, for example, some of that funding? Because I doubt that if we go to these states and say, hey, give us your money, right, that you get from the VA, and you continue to use your corporate sponsorships, right? They can say, no way, that's our money, right? But for us, if we said, well, why don't we ask for the corporate funding to come here, right? I mean, it'll be up to the corporations to give us that money rather than for, a state to give up their VA funding that they're getting. But at any rate, it's just another route for us to really try to bring more funding into the island. And there's no shortage of work for any group or person that wants to be out here. Anytime we start looking at I would say it's more competitive as organizations to say, hey, we're this or we're that, right? We're better than this or better than. It's more a competition. It's similar to what we have with, for example, our services, right? We should go, the Coast Guard is the best, right? Or we should know Marines are the best, or Air Force, right? I think that should be the same style of what we should be doing with organizations. But sometimes it gets a little bit too personal, and we need to try to remove ourselves from something like that, because we're all here for the same cause, right? It's to take care of our veterans and their families, and a lot of things come with us taking care of our veterans and their families. And yeah, we could keep going on and on about all these things, but let's have you ask the question.
So I've seen senators try to assist, especially GOVA.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen Senator Joe San Augustine provide some money so that GOVA can purchase a vehicle.
Yes, I remember that.
To assist, right? However, things that, government moves slow.
Yes, and maybe when we look at something like that, right, we can always point to, like, the procurement process. We can point to, we had a natural disaster, so we took the money to use instead of, you know what I mean, right? And granted, those might be things that are considered important at the time or more priority. Maybe we need to start focusing on not having that money just be sitting around waiting to be taken, for example, and once it's given to us, we take it and actually put it to good use right away. Another way we might be able to do that is, rather than putting it in the same coffers where the government of Guam can always tap into it for emergencies, maybe we can funnel these monies out to nonprofits that can put it to good use right away. I mean,
so Mr. Ben Servino does that same service.
Well, and I'll tell you, right, so when Ben came around and was talking about doing stuff for the veterans, right, we told him, we said, sure, come to the little things that we do, our boot camps, come to our symposiums, set up, put all your paperwork out, right, and sure enough, right, he went, applied, and now he's doing a lot of help for our veterans out there, and that is the kind of thing we should be doing, right? That's what, not just with veterans, with everything else that we're doing, right? We need to take a look at the federal government, what's available, and not be waiting in the backside, we're here, here's the money, right? We should be up there at the front, prepared to say, hey, look, these are the things going on. This is what we would like to happen, for example, for our veterans or for the people of Guam. And if we just focus on the veteran side for now, right, the things we should be looking at is like, okay, can we have a state veterans home here on this island? I mean, a state veterans home has been something that we've been talking about for a while. It seems to have kind of stalled when some of the folks that were pushing it. But, our veterans are not sticking around a lot longer than we would like.
Right.
Our healthcare system, although it's gotten better, is not the best. I can tell you that we have veterans who are in the VA system who have cancer and have passed away. So while that is a great system to take care of our veterans, one or two veterans is one or two too many when they're inside of the system for the VA healthcare system. So we need to be really paying attention, and there seems to be a kind of like a behavior when they look at our veterans, right? And you and I are right up there, right, with who are you a veteran or not, right? And the real question becomes, yes, we are veterans. Are we in need of services?
Right.
And could we maybe be not the nicest people in some instances? And the answer could be, in some instances, we may not be.
Right.
And a lot of our veterans have seen some things that you only see in the movies, right? And when these people have experienced that type of lifestyle, you're not expecting them to be just like everybody else. And our veterans don't purposely go do that. A lot of times they're hurting. A lot of times they need something. They need help. They're not asking you to give them any more than what you're giving the folks stateside. If we don't have the services here on island, right, how is it that we are not able to try to do some things here to take care of that? And I think they try, but the answer of, well, you're too far away. Well, we went too far away to build Camp Blanc. That's billions of dollars up there. And I've said this before. We've thrown billions of dollars up to Camp Blanc for a potential conflict, right? That's potential. It may not come. It may come, whatever the case might be. Right now, we dumped the money for something that's potential. You talk about what veterans we have here in Ireland. That's not potential. Those are real human lives, and two of us are talking right now. So when we start asking for where are these dollars at, or what kind of dollars and what kind of services, this here is the United States of America. If it isn't, then they need to probably tell us that, right? Do they want to disown us as an island or as a people? I don't think so. And for as many of our people that have been so patriotic, and the numbers show it, there's no doubt anywhere in the world, Guam and the people that have served are the most patriotic people in the United States. And you can take that to the bank.
Admirals have said that when they show up at the Liberation Parade. Like, I grew up in a small town in whatever city, and we don't have all of these marching bands and all of these flags and all of these people showing up to thank the U.S. military for liberating or for the freedoms that they have. It's not as common.
And I have to tell you, right, it's an honor to serve. When I tell you that, right, when I look back as a youngster getting into the military, right, and I get out of the military, I look at myself and I'm like, wow, isn't it great that I was able to serve? And look at where I'm at today and what they're taking care of me with, right? The VA is taking care of me. But it required me to also serve my country. And I have to say, right, you don't get a choice when they tell you, okay, go up, here's where we're going, right? You don't just say, oh, hold on, I got to run home real quick and I'm going to, feed the dog and, just put some things in place. No, they say, get up, it's gone. You're going.
In 4 hours and I still got to put my shutters up.
Yeah, we don't get that luxury, and this is where we really have to really take a look at our service members and the things they do. And when you take a look at Guam, and we have some of our folks out here that are really kind of looking at our U.S. military and our federal government and kind of placing some blame, right? Like, hey, you took all our land, hey, you did all these things, right? Those are all issues we need to take care of at some point. Now, one of the things I would say, right, when we look at service members, right, you and I were both serving off island, right? And when we were off island, right, we were in somebody else's home, right? And not everybody was mean to us or was telling us, Yankee, go home, right? They were still cordial to us. Now, just like everywhere else, right, we're always told by our superiors, hey, you guys stay out of trouble, don't go down into town and start, picking fights with the locals. We were given the same warnings that these guys are probably giving us. But, that's the way life is sometimes, right? Somebody's winking at a pretty girl. Well, if she's pretty to a local boy, doesn't mean she's not pretty to, one of the sailors or one of the folks that are, here from the military. So, the end of the day, right, those same issues happen stateside as well. And we were stateside as well. So those are a lot of things that we got to consider. So when they start talking, things about the military out here, for us veterans, right, I look at those guys and they're me. I got to take care of them. When they're here, I don't want them to get in trouble. I don't want them to get into fights. I want them to enjoy themselves. And if they need help, we should be helping them.
I'm glad that you brought that up because my grandparents felt the same way because their sons were being deployed. They were they were in Vietnam. Right. And so as sailors would come to Guam, they took the best care of them because they felt like they were taking care of their own sons.
Yes.
And I still remember them.
And they're gonna end up being veterans like us. And we see them. We see that, hey, we were once them, and
Right.
you know, the job that they're doing is the same job that we did at one point.
Right. Speaking about like the next generation and the young individuals, whether they're military or not, we had a caller
Uh-huh.
that called in earlier on in the show, and he gave us a laundry list of things that he is, he's a first-time voter and
Okay.
he's concerned about. He didn't. I asked him, who do you think would be somebody that could solve some of these issues, and he wasn't quite sure. However, he's paying attention.
Okay.
So I'll ask you a couple questions that he's concerned about. He's concerned about the future of the island, specifically the environment.
Okay.
And so what are your thoughts about protecting the environment? I didn't realize this, Tarzan Falls has been like a no-go zone because they're going to build a solar farm in that area. I'm not specifically on that part, but just on environmental protections and places that the other younger generation, even military members, like to just go and seek out, like, what do you call it, environmental tourism, right? And keeping things green, keeping things less, like, not always deciding to develop everything in every place.
So when we talk about like the environment, right? Of course, you know, being on an island, right, is a lot different from being in a city, right? I mean, and even in cities, right? If you start looking at places like even Singapore, right? When they start developing, right, they do a lot of things to take care of the environment. I was watching how they took, so they have what's known as groundwater, right? So they have these waters that get filtered, right? But these are all reused water, right? So it's water that they're using inside of the condo or the development that they're at. And when this water comes through, it's probably not the best water, right? And it's not designed for consumption. But that water goes through the system, it gets filtered, and it comes out, and it's called brown water, right? And that water is used to, for example, water plants, you know, to wash down, you know, like the areas that need to be washed, but it's not designed for consumption. So they've taken the idea of, you know, reusing the water, right? So the water that they use, they're filtering it and they're reusing it and taking advantage of, you know, the conservation of water, for example. And looking at something like that was really interesting. They tried to also do things like get some greenery inside of the cities, right? Because the cities are nothing but concrete, so they're working on trying to bring more of that in. So while we already have it, right, this is a good opportunity for us to really pay close attention, right? And I think we have some areas in the government that they're designed to be sure to take care of that. If you ever go get like a permit to build a house, right, you got to go over to the Department of Agriculture, right? And when you go there, they're going to ask you if there are any trees on this property. And they're going to try to find out what kind of trees they are. And, you know, they're going to ask you not to just cut them all down, right? They're going to ask you to, you know, try to keep trees there for, you know,
build around.
Yes, if they can, right? And that, so there are some laws that are in place that are already there to try to help us with the environment. And then, you know, I don't know if, I'm sure you caught up to the days where, you know, grandma and grandpa were burning under the mango tree, right? They rake the leaves up and they burn it, right? And a lot of times when we look at that, right, we're like, hey, we're not supposed to be burning. If you live in the United States, you cannot burn in the backyard.
A lot of people don't realize you're supposed to have a permit for that.
They don't, right? But unlike other people, you have a lot of contact with the fire chief, so you don't need to get a permit directly, right? You just use his name. A lot of us have friends, and you know, most of them are really very accommodating. You know, our firefighters, they're not really there to say, hey, let's give this guy a hard time. They're just like, hey, we gotta be careful. You know, the wind's blowing. You know, and for many of us, right, we don't like being told sometimes, but it's like, hey, I'm trying to clean my yard and I gotta get rid of these leaves, right? So maybe helping to get the understanding of what can we do rather than burn. I know they talk about composting a lot, right? I don't know if you've looked at how that is, and it's not easy, right? And depending on how large scale you want to do it, that's also another thing to look at. So when it comes to the environment, I think we're all paying attention. There should be laws in the books that we probably just gotta kind of dust off a little, take a look at it, and if we need to, right, let's come together and really find out where they see these. So if these young folks are saying, hey, we want to protect the environment, right? Let's talk about what it is that we're seeing, right, that maybe needs some attention. And then we'll sit down with them and take a look at it and say, oh, you're worried about being a class where they go to off-road and then you see all the dirt going on the road and, they're tearing up the area up there, right? There's some recreation there. Some people enjoy doing that. It's something that the off-road folks, I'm sure are going to have some fun. But
however, it does cause the erosion.
Yes, and maybe that's the thing we got to look at, right? Is maybe there should be an area set aside for it, or what protections are we putting in place to keep that, like maybe we do it 1 year on one side, let it sit for a bit, I don't know. And these are where these engineers and experts got to come in and really pay attention to that.
If you were a part of this current legislature, would you vote in favor or against banning deep sea mining?
So deep sea mining is something very, very new, and a lot of the information that we're getting tends to be unsupported at the moment, right? Because I don't believe we've really been around deep sea mining a lot, right? It's kind of new. That's something that talks about our environment, and the first things that we're taking a look at is it's probably not going to be good for the environment. That's what we're hearing, right? And the studies that exist today show that. Now, obviously, if we were showed and explaining that it's going to ruin the environment, I don't believe too many of us are going to agree to want to continue with it. Now, we don't always control all the things that go on, and I don't know if we noticed that we might not have control over the deep sea mining decisions.
Right.
So rather than just being out there, demonstrating against it for the sake of doing that, why don't we get to the table? Why don't we go to the folks that are doing the deep sea mining and sit down with them? Because if we can do that, because the way I was hearing and seeing this, the federal government is going to come in and do this, and we almost don't have any say. Now, we can demonstrate against them, but that doesn't mean that they're going to listen to us, and I think by law, they're allowed to do whatever they want in the area that they're talking about. Now, does that mean it's not going to affect us? I think the answer is still, it's going to affect us still. But once again, if we don't even know how, when, what, maybe it's a good idea for us to, say, look, we're not in agreement with this. We know that you are supposed to go do this and at some point give us some of the money. We don't even know how much money is there. What is that money supposed to be used for? So I would think that maybe getting over to whoever's in charge of this deep sea mining, paying attention to what's going on and learning more, and maybe if we're at the table, we can learn and say, hey, tell me about this, right? Or, I know we're trying to get somewhere with this. We're going to benefit through funding. We're worried. Tell us more about what we can do. Because if we're not at the table, guess what's going to happen? They're going to do whatever they want. And where's that going to help us? We're not going to have the help. So I won't say we shouldn't defend ourselves and say we're not, in agreement with deep sea mining. I think all of us, we understand that if it's going to affect us and the environment, we should be concerned and talk about it, right? And more importantly, if they're continuing to move forward, let's get to them and talk to them. We don't always like to talk to our parents, right, when we're younger and we're teenagers, but if we want to do something, we find a way to do something.
Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yes, and with this, right, what I seem to think, right, is it's a little bit on the opposite side of this, right? let's get to them and ask, because at this point, we have to ask them, right? This is like, hey, look, I'm going to take the car. You said I could take the car, but I need the keys, right? So, I don't know that that's the perfect example, but at the end of the day, we should go talk to them and just really say, hey, what is the plan? And let's get involved, because we plan on doing it, and if they are, we want to know and help us to understand, and here are our concerns.
Right. I think also some of the frustration is the wanting to have that conversation and the constant neglect, or almost feeling like we'll get back to you, or not even responding to those emails or the comments.
Yes, exactly. And so when we talk about a lot of the things that are going on, and most especially with the federal government, I'll share a little bit about what I've heard and how the folks from Puerto Rico, as it relates to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Puerto Rico is maybe an hour or two to get into Washington, D.C., maybe a couple $100 to get a flight round trip to D.C. It takes us a day to get out there. If we're lucky on the flight, right? And it costs us a couple thousand, if not thousands of dollars to get there and home, right? So maybe we need to start, setting something up and having some sort of coalition or group out there specific to what we're doing, or as it relates to veterans, maybe our veterans who do get some benefits to fly out there, right? We get on MAC flights, make it a lot cheaper, work together, head up there, speak to whoever our delegate is, and make the appointments, and we go knock and we express to them exactly what we feel. Right now, we have VFW, American Legion. These are great national organizations that are out there to voice all of the American Legion issues and all of the VFW issues throughout the nation. Now, Guam is just a small part of that. Now, when we want something said or done in Congress and they have that opportunity, I don't know that our concerns are something that they put as a priority. But maybe also the way we present these priorities to them is not being done the right way. Or maybe it's not as, what's the word? It's not as big or not as eminent.
One of those things where it's like out of sight, out of mind.
To some extent.
Or thousands of miles out of sight.
Do you recall that one? Wasn't it a congressman who said that we might tip over the island with all the military people here?
Are we worried that we'll tip over? Yeah.
So talking about that, right? We do have to start being a little bit more engaged up there, and it's not to say that our delegates are not there to do this work, or that we don't have Madeline up there. Yeah. Prior to her, we had the other no, I'm talking about so Madeline is there through the government of Guam.
Oh, okay.
And then I think before her was the Republican lady. Oh gosh, I
you call her Pudding, right?
I think
I remember. That was a nickname.
Yes, and she's I think she might have been a McDonald of some sort. But anyway, she was one of the folks. So we have a local government person that is sitting out there in D.C. And maybe that could also be another place. And I think they do communicate. Maybe we're a little bit too, we expect too much out here. But if that's the case and we feel those expectations need to be met, we need to really get out there and show them, right? Say, hey, we really want this. We're asking for your help to do this. Right. So
Rick's on the line.
Oh,
hey, Rick, you're on the air with Anthony Tyler.
Yes. So if it's an issue with Puerto Rico, I think wouldn't he...
You're on the air with him. Go ahead. You can ask the question. Rick, you're on the air with him.
I know, sir. Yes. So is a voting block of Chamorros or people who know about for the president and for their representatives? Wouldn't they be good lobbyists for us?
So, if I heard the question correctly, if you were able to vote for president?
Oh, those that are out there that are Guam, maybe they're Chamorros, maybe they're Guamanians, maybe they have family out here, they could also advocate for us.
I think that's a great idea. I think we need to also start organizing better with them. You know what I mean? And I think that was some of the thought process. So I do have somebody really close to me. My daughter actually lives out there in Ellicott City, which is about an hour outside of D.C., right?
Okay.
So
Maryland or Virginia?
Maryland. So I already have places where I can go, where I can rally up people. Yeah. And then Virginia, there's some Chamorro folks there where veterans are. And they're out there already, so we can start having them grouped together. Maybe
there's a Guam organization. I remember when Madeline was the congresswoman, they were the ones that assisted her with all of those parties.
And everybody came. And that is such a great way to really share our culture with these people, right? And at the same time, that might be a good time to rub elbows and ask questions, right? Hey, can you support us with this? And I think here locally, right, we all need to really just have one way of looking at things and getting it out there to present. All the issues are not going to go forth all the time right away, and everyone's going to be like, hey, yes, we're all on board. And they might say they're all on board at one point, but, when it comes down to the vote and when
well, let's talk about that, right? I mean, maybe the makeup of the 39th Guam legislature, you'll have the majority, right? But maybe you won't. And so, I mean, you're seeing, I don't know if you're watching the budget session, but the Democrats are having a very difficult time with their amendments, and very little are moving forward. So how do you plan on navigating in a minority to assist those that need your help with policy?
So, growing up in school, right, and I know you remember this in your kindergarten years, right, there was an area there, once in a while they call it deportment, or they call it works well with others, right? Yes. And believe it or not, that still works even up until today, right? We really just have to figure out, because even on the Republican side, there are veterans there. And even on that side, right, there's a need to push a lot of the veteran issues forward, and there's got to be a way for us to meet with them and talk to them. Now, I'm new if I do get in, right, and hopefully, I know I got one vote today because I just came from there, so.
There you go. Which one did you get, the Cocoa? Oh, I got
the elementary school.
The pro on there, yeah.
So anyway, I did go vote, so I have one vote. And then my family went with me, so I think we have more votes, right?
Yeah.
And then
you're not quite sure, but you're pretty sure.
And if the voting system is working well, I got one vote, right? So when we look at these things, right, it's sometimes hard to see that things can happen, but if you don't do it, you'll never know, right? And we're not in there because, I just want you to look at me and I'm Mr. Popular, right? No, I'm going in there because we need the people to have the power. And if the people put me in there, I'm going to show them everything I'm going to do. I'm not going to be like worried about, they didn't do this or they didn't do that. If you have something that we really need, let's put it up there. And I'm going to show you that, hey, I have the paper, we put the bill together, or the amendment, or whatever it is we want to get across, and I gave it to them. I put it forward. I did the pieces that we need to, whether we're going to be in the majority or not, and they're going to see it. And when they see it, because I've been telling folks out there on the trail, the campaign trail, I said, hey, you vote for me and we're in there, you're not running away. You're staying with me. So if you vote for me, don't go anywhere, because I'm going to call you up and I'm going to tell you, remember you came to the campaign fundraiser? Well, you need to get over here because here are the things that we're doing. And if we start empowering our people, the same way we've done with our veterans in the last 6 years to our nonprofit, I think our people are waiting to be given the task to do something for their island. And once we start bringing them, I think that's going to be something that they're going to want to own. Because this is our island. This is their island, right? And when they start, when you hear people talk bad about Guam, right? I don't know about you, but I don't like that. It doesn't feel good, right? Now, if it was something that might have been a mistake, right? That, oh, well, you know.
Sometimes even if they're right, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Only my brother can talk bad. Only I can talk bad about my brother. You don't talk bad about my brother.
Tony, I got a question because I've been talking to a lot of veterans throughout this whole campaign.
Okay.
And I ran into one yesterday when I went to go get some lunch.
Okay.
Well, he served in Iraq.
Yeah.
And he was running a business.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm not going to disclose what business he was, you know, I mean, because I didn't ask him if I could speak about it on the air. But the scenario is this. He was running a business, and the taxes were killing him.
Right.
Now, if you look at the actual veterans that are currently running for office in the San Antonio, you have yourself, you have Mr. John Suarez, Mr. Jerry England, Chief Fred Berdalio, and
Vince Warlock.
There's 11, 5 on the Democrat side and 6 on the Republican.
Okay, even more.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to his question. Yeah. If the Democrats were to get the majority, would you be in favor of introducing a bill? I'm going to give you an idea.
Okay. Sure.
So, would you be in favor of introducing a bill that for every veteran that wants to start a business, would you be in favor of maybe, you know, instead of paying the full amount of taxes, maybe even half of it? I mean, because there are, I mean, when you look at how D.C. is, I mean, they always get these benefits, right? They always, I mean, if you're a veteran, you get this, you get that, you get this. You guys have served our country in time of war.
There are tax breaks right now for small businesses, right? That are not profiting more than what? $500,000.
But specifically for veterans, I mean, to start it up, I mean, and basically make it easier for veterans to sustain themselves, opening a business.
I think that we have programs out there that are not exactly what you're talking about, but to answer the question, if you're saying would I be in favor or want to introduce something that would help our veterans, the answer is always going to be yes. If it's going to take care of our veterans, hey, that's what I've been doing. I've been looking at our veterans and trying to find out the things that they need and ways to, you know, make their overall quality of life better. And when you talk about being a combat veteran coming back from Iraq, right, I'll share with you that it still boggles my mind to see that we have veterans, even from the Vietnam era, who are combat veterans, who are still not getting their benefits. And when people start telling me things about, oh, you know, you're not the one that needs to help them, somebody else, I'm like, okay, if I'm not going to help them, are you going to help them? And a lot of times the answer isn't always, oh, yeah, no problem, right? For the number of veterans we have on this island, right, and maybe one of the ways to take care of that, right, is, you know, our global office needs more help. Maybe they need more money. If we can start showing, right, that we need more overtime paid to them, nobody loves overtime, but if you are not meeting the needs of the veterans, maybe we need to start looking at that. So sometimes when people have to do more work, they start realizing that, hey, wait a minute, there might be a challenge or a problem here that we need to fix. Now, it's not exactly like law enforcement where, you know, oh, somebody has to be out on the streets, right? But maybe we need to take a look at how we can either meet all these veterans. You know, if you're working 8 to 5 and you're a veteran, and the VA office is only open from 8 to 5, when do you think you're going to see that veteran? Lunchtime? And what if he's too far away? What if his lunch is not something that he can run away from, right? Are we able to then see them? So we got to kind of help ourselves with that.
Now, I want to meet them where they're at.
And make it a little bit easier for them, you know? I've asked Regine Viscoli over at GVB to modify the form that you fill out when you come in from off island, and put a section there. Are you a veteran? So that way, when they come, we can circle and see how many veterans are coming here, how long were they here, because that equates to, if they're staying here for a week or two, if something happens to them, they utilize our services here, and they might be a registered veteran somewhere else.
I'm glad you brought up the numbers, like how many veterans, because we've been hearing, Pauly and I, we've been doing this, and we've been hearing, okay, we have 7,000 registered veterans. But the numbers vary because I keep hearing there are like
you say 20, right? However, U.S. Veterans Affairs Office wants to see the proof.
And which is, quite interesting, because if you ever ask them, show me where you're getting your numbers, right, you're never going to get an answer to them, right? They're going to say, well, they're coming from the CBOC, right? Okay, how do we see that? How do we know that? I'll tell you a more telling number that we can figure out how many veterans we have. Number one, our congressman had ran numbers from, I want to say it's called DHA, right? Department of Health Administration, I think is what it's called. Yeah. So the last time we spoke, he had announced that, and it was 20,000 plus, right? That's the number they gave. That's a better number, you know what I mean? Yet, when we look at where we're getting these numbers, right, when you go through the booth or when they register your ID cards, right, those guys know how many people are there.
Yeah.
Because you got to go in and out of the base, right? So it's another number that, it's like, how do we not know this number, right? We have to know that number. Now, imagine it's difficult to get it from the federal government, right? Locally, right, we also get people that go and register for their land taxes, right? If you're 100%, you are a veteran that, you don't have to pay land taxes, right? Because you're 100% disabled veteran, so you don't pay land taxes. So we should know how many 100%ers they are. As a veteran, right, your driver's license, they can count how many veterans are getting their driver's license and run a query, ask the system.
Bill, you can introduce it to get in.
well, believe it or not, there's supposed to be a report that goes to the speaker, and the speaker is supposed to have this report talking about the numbers and who's registered down at GOVA and, whatever other areas we can look at. And, if we would just pay attention, some of our veterans don't want to be seen, and a lot of them are Vietnam era veterans, right? Because when they came home, they called them all kinds of names, and they didn't treat them well. So that's a group that, have a difficult time. But I think there are strategies that we can do to get our veterans to be counted. Right now we have symposiums. We've never had anything like this before. We invite all the different service providers of veterans to the symposium. They get to talk to the veterans and tell the veterans what services they do. So DISIT comes out there. We get Guam Legal Service gets up there. We have GSAT that provides, assistive technology for our veterans. Maybe it's been 3 years now. Maybe I forget how we got involved with GSAT. HMI went in. We started talking to them, and what we found out is if veterans are not getting any help from the VA, they can go get help over at GSAT. And there's programs there, equipment you can loan, if you need it, or you might be able to, get a loan to pay for it. So a lot of different areas where we should be able to count. When Lawrence Camacho was in charge of the veterans program up at UOG, he's since moved over to Saipan.
Yeah.
So
he's running for governor or something over there.
Oh my goodness!
I think so.
He's moving up. Anyway, so he's a veteran, right?
Yes.
So when he was over there, he was doing a lot of things for our veterans over there. He created the programs and everything. What we did was we asked him, and then last year we also asked the president and the group, right, to maybe get our folks that work around the government to find that number out. We got Dr. McNick, right, who does a lot of polling and numbers, right? Maybe we can get one of his classes to really just sit down and start counting the veterans on the island. Find a way or find a program that's going to get us to do that. Right. And maybe we incentivize them, right? If you come out and register, you get a free pizza. I mean, I don't know, maybe veterans want pizza, who knows, right? But something like that could be a way to bring them out, you know?
No, I get it. This conversation has been around for quite some time to continue to organize, because what is the end result? So many more benefits, facilities that will be here, right?
And that's the reason why these numbers are important. And
right.
One of the reasons we push for them to go up to the CBOC and register, right, is every time they register and they get service, right, it signals the VA, hey, here's the body you got to care for.
Right.
You may need more workers to take care of them. And then even more telling, right, 90% of our military service members are able to get tinnitus rated. So if you get tinnitus, right, it's only $100 a month, right? So it's just like a couple thousand at the end of the year. But guess what? That signals that you are a disabled veteran, number one, and number two, you require service.
Right.
So not only do they have to compensate you, they have to count you for getting medical services. So that right there should be the way for us to start counting our veterans as well. And, you know, why we're not able to do it seems odd. I mean, I have 10 fingers, right? You have 10 fingers. I have 10 toes. You have 10 toes. So I think we're starting to get to 40, right? So if we can count 40 at a time, right, then I think maybe we can start seeing how many veterans are out there.
KZUMFM and Get It Over Guam, we've just blown through this whole hour. But I wanted to just, in closing, if there's anything that you want to share with our audience who are potential voters, they haven't yet voted, understanding that we had a couple of days where people can. Why should they vote for you? Why should they trust you as one of the 15 in the 39th Guam legislature?
Well, I've been serving our island for many years. I served as a law enforcement, public safety officer, right? I served in the military. So if you're looking for somebody that has been around and has actually shown what service is about, right? That's somebody that would be me, that has shown that I can do that, right? If you want to talk about things that deal with, our business side of the house, right? I've also done business, right? And when you talk about that, right, that's another piece of our island that, we need to get to work together, not just with our government, but with our people. Now, as a nonprofit entity, running our nonprofit shared a lot of things with me that, shows how the system sometimes needs more help, how there could be an issue, but the way we look at the issue is not the same way everybody else sees it. And the need for us to really have our people involved in that, right? So, you get areas like the businesses, you get the government, you get the nonprofits, right? And you get the people. And we sit them all down and we talk to them about, hey, this is our island, this is what's going on, right? This is what we own. We are the ones that are going to make our future better. And we might not like everything we're going to be talking about today, but this issue we have to knock out and take care of. So I can be in that room with all of you and talk to you. I invite these people to come in. There are folks that many would say, oh, that guy is always controversial, or, he's so mean or loud. I'm like, even better. You know why? Because we want to hear what he has to say. Imagine if we solved that person's problem. Guess what we've just done? Taken our biggest critic and turned them into somebody that's going to support what we do. And maybe his thing is just like you said. Can you just listen to what I have to say? Sure, we're going to listen to you. Right. Okay, I'm in. And then they move on. So now we start working together, and we all got to take ownership. So for me, I just want to say that, I would like to be a part of trying to help make our island a better place. I've done a lot with our law enforcement, our public safety folks. I want to continue to do that. I've done work as a military service member, and, I've worked in the business community, and all of these people are all people that I know, that I worked around, and I want to continue to work around, and I want to help them to do the best that they can. so that everybody on this island has a fair chance at doing the things that they want to do, have better, safer neighborhoods, have better, safer homes and families, and just be able to be living in the pursuit of happiness.
There you go. And you're obviously a Democrat, so on the Democrat side, what number?
I'm number 16 on the Democrat
Number
side.
16. And platforms, you're obviously on Facebook. I've seen that.
Public safety, veterans, and economic development, and rebuilding the overall trust in from the community with the government. So we want them to feel safe about doing these things and coming out.
People can find you where?
Right now I'm here at the station.
No, like, to get more information, I see flyers on Facebook.
Yeah, they're on Instagram, and as far as the numbers, I mean, you can call me. I can give you my number. 671.
No, it's okay.
688-3607. Give me a call.
It's out there.
No problem.
Yeah.
And there's things. I mean, everybody's got my number, especially the veterans that have been using that for helping out. So it's no big deal. But yeah, reach out, send a smoke signal, Morse code, we'll find you.
There you go.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we gotta reach everyone and we gotta take care of them. So
yeah,
that's something.
You've always been a very approachable individual.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, things are a little bit different now. I used to tell people, I come from special ops background, right? So it sometimes doesn't look that way, right? But and folks will tell me, hey, you're big, he's loud, right? And I'm like, well, just spend a little time with me, and at the end of the day, right, I've always tried to look at people and talk to them and see how they're doing and had a genuine interest in their well-being and wanting them to be here on this island. How can we improve? It's never, who does he think he is? That stuff is not, that's old school stuff, right? When you're young and growing up, right? Oh, I'm the guy. But end of the day, we really got to take care of all these things that our island needs and our people, and really start making it better. And we don't do that by just saying bad things about people. We do that by saying, hey, there's trash over there. Hey, let's go pick it up. You've grown up around that, At the end of the party or the rosary, boys, pick up all the chairs, go take the trash, get the big food. Those are all the same things that we got to do around here. Maybe in a different, bigger scale, but end of the day, that's how we were taught to do stuff.
I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we got to take this break, and we appreciate Anthony Sires hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, FM. Get it over.